The flow formula is actually something that I came across and had thought about for a number of years. It was actually a result of actually seeing one of our brother Dan's uh, pictures work its way around the internet and actually through LinkedIn make its way back to me. And I looked at that picture and I went, oh, wow, yeah, Dan did that already in the late 90s and used it in some of the leadership training that he was doing when he was working there in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a little over 20 years ago. And as I was looking at this, I thought, wow, we need a simple formula to help people understand the definition of flow, because the definition of flow is a little abstract, getting people to a high level of sustainable performance. That's a little bit abstract, and they'll go, okay, that's great. How? All right. Well, how is on the next slide. This is how. This is how you get it done. It starts with vision. Just like Simon Sinek said, vision first. Okay, great. Let's put vision first. But the vision is still coming from a person. But if you're the person with the vision, you still need the right people at the right levels, in the right places to be able to tactically deliver your strategies that are going to help you achieve your vision. And as I mentioned earlier, when you see right people, think 4R model. So, do they have the right truth? Do they have the right values and attitudes? Are they going to do the right things so that we get the right results? Okay. So think right people and think 4R model together with that, and you'll be doing really well. This also includes the 4D model. And the 4D model being a mirror image of the 4R model. It's almost a little redundant, but not really. And you'll see that why that is when we get into the flow friction analysis. When you get these three things right, you've got a chance of actually achieving flow and thereby, by extension, hopefully being successful. So this is the formula. It's simple, it's straightforward, and people will look at that and they'll go, well, that's intuitively obvious. Well, yeah, and we've spent 25 years distilling and honing and boiling this down to the simple. This is best practice. This is our management consulting hat that we have on at the moment, okay? So, out of the flow friction analysis, we get, or out of the flow formula, we get the flow friction analysis. And the flow friction analysis is an incredibly powerful tool. You can use this every day with your teams. If you want to hear how Jeff Kissinger used it, go to the videos on why use flow. And in those videos, there's actually the interview with Jeff, and he gives a wonderful explanation of how he uses the flow friction analysis on a daily basis. When I was working in the States here the last 10 months in Michigan, before Ted passed away, I used this with both of the teams. I coached both of our Scrum Masters and Agile coaches on here's how you use the flow friction analysis in real life, in real time, to be able to keep the team on track, moving the right direction, and to quickly identify, using it as a root cause tool, how to quickly identify issues that are popping up. And so that if you recognize those things happening, you are able to quickly step in, fix it, and get the team back on track. As I've stated in many different places, both in this video series and in the transformation video series, and I think even in the Why Use Flow series, I quote Peter Drucker very often. because only three things happen naturally in organizations: friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. It requires leadership at the individual level. It requires leadership at the team level. It requires leadership in the product, program, process area. And it definitely requires leadership in the portfolio, senior leadership, executive leadership, and C-level leadership. Because when the fish rots from the head. And we've seen it too many times in organizations. The Peter Principle still is alive and well. And it's really important to be able to fix the leadership. If the culture of the organization is toxic or dysfunctional, or if the vision is fractured, it's going to take a ton of leadership doing the right things in order to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And if you want to eliminate friction, if you want to eliminate confusion, and if you want to eliminate underperformance and get people up to a higher level of sustainable performance, then you really need to take what we're teaching here with all of these frameworks and models and start using them every day, because flow is a leadership framework above everything else. So the flow friction analysis is simply vision plus right people plus the 4D model equals flow. So we're going to expand this out for you. And if everything's working, the formula is pretty straightforward. If the vision is somehow either missing or fractured, you're going to get anarchy. If you have the wrong people on the team, you're going to see the team manifesting anxiety. Even the person who's on the team who may be the problem, they may be having anxiety because they know they're the wrong person for the project. If you haven't nailed the definitions, you will get confusion. If you do not have distilled agreement, you will get politics. That's absolutely guaranteed. And you'll also end up with division. If you're not able to deliver, you're going to get chaos. I think I already shared, if not in this series, one of the other series about a company I worked with. Their way of delivery was to lock, I don't remember if it was 40 or 80 or 100 programmers in the room, and then scream at each other for 3-4 days in a locked room, trying to get everything done and written, and to get the release out the door. Utter chaos. And then in the end, once they had released it, they spent the next 3 months fixing all the bugs for everything that they just delivered during the chaos. And if you're not able to drive, you're probably going to be experiencing division, because you're going to have multiple visions, and that brings us all the way back to vision, because division literally means two visions. We use the flow friction analysis, as I mentioned earlier, in all 4 areas. We use it with the individual. Are they feeling anxious? Do they feel like they're experiencing anarchy? You can do this at the individual level and quickly measure, how does the person feel. You can use dot voting if you want to. Same for the team. We can dot vote and have the team vote what of any of these may be present with the team. And so the team, if they're feeling that there's anarchy or anxiety, confusion, politics, chaos, or division, you can quickly use that to say that, oh, okay, well, if they dot vote and 3 of them pop up, then you can go to the root cause and say, okay, then, all right, if it's politics, okay, then obviously we don't have agreements. Let's figure out where we need to get agreement in order to eliminate that from the voting. Same for product, program, process level, and definitely the same for the organization level. We can do this via surveys. We can create a team radar based on, it's almost like a health radar based on the flow friction analysis. And then over time, you do snapshots in time. So if you're doing this for a team, for example, you might do it on a monthly basis. If you're working with the executives, you still might do it on a monthly basis, but at minimum, a quarterly basis to see, are we eliminating any of the items that are manifesting in the organization at any level or in any area of the business? And so we have ways of doing that so that we can quickly start to gather the information, and then over time show the organization, okay, now you're making progress. Now you're getting to the point where you've actually eliminated some of the anarchy, or you've eliminated all of the anxiety. Nobody's anxious anywhere right now on any of the teams. Or you could say, we finally eliminated the chaotic releases that we were doing before. That's been eliminated. So there are ways over time, but you have to measure it, and you have to measure it over time. Watch the trend lines, measure the trend lines. It doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, but it will give the trend lines with which executives and leaders in the organization can make some relatively reasonable decisions and help guide and support the organization in achieving those higher level of sustainable performance that the executives want to achieve. The art of politics is the art of war. And as we just shared in the last section, there are reasons for politics. And we're going to go through some of the additional items that are included in politics. Usually, politics are a result of missing agreements. They're a result of division or lack of vision or a fractured vision. The politics can erupt just because somebody has a hidden agenda, or maybe it's not hidden and it's just a personal agenda. So politics have a lot of reasons that they pop up, but primarily it's because somebody doesn't agree with the overall vision of what the organization is trying to do. And if you think about the employee engagement survey, where only 13% are engaged and 87% are either disengaged or actively, aggressively disengaged, where they're working against what you're trying to achieve. If you got 20%, 1 out of every 5 people working against you, guess what? You're going to have a boatload of politics. And politics is a blood sport. And I think that that's what sends many agilists running for the door, is the fact that politics is a blood sport. And if you're used to working in a safe team environment that's protected, where everybody can sit in a circle, cross-legged, holding hands, singing Kumbaya, which is great if it helps the team get the work done. If you're used to that, and then you walk over into the other areas, into those other boxes, like the program box or the portfolio box or the C-suite, you're going to experience a very different world. Everyone's smiling and everyone's polite to each other, and they're all speaking language, a language that if you're not able to understand what you're saying, You will become a victim, the next victim of the political battles that are going on between the gladiators in the arena. So it's a blood sport, and you better be prepared to be getting some battle scars if you dare enter this arena.